Hello everyone, welcome back to Tadowski's Shelter. Today we're going to continue on the path of APC formations, how to understand them, how to get your APC strong, and we're going to continue that series by discussing heroes. The key to this is how to understand how to read heroes, their skills, how should you upgrade them, how should you look at heroes in a different aspect than just the leaders of an APC that are thrown together. Remember, like the video if you like the video, subscribe for more, leave a comment on what you want to see here and do, and let's just get right into it. If you haven't understood by now, or you're very new to the game, one of the important aspects to realize here is that this game is very progressive. In the beginning, you're going to be getting a lot of stuff, but it's very general as opposed to specific, detailed information that you would normally see as you go later on in the game. The game's designed this way because their end goal was to have a very tactical game. It all depends on how formations are, how your troops are laid out, how your tech is done, everything. There's just a lot to this game the more you play. I think it's important that you understand how to read heroes. So I felt that instead of talking about APCs and the screen and all the terms and stuff like that, we talk about the next big thing that goes into an APC, and that is going to be your heroes. So the heroes that you have in the beginning are very generalized heroes. They will have very generalized skills that can get applied to any type of troop, that can get applied to any sort of situation, and there's really no way to go wrong with matching them up in that sort of sense until you get further into the game. But if you don't start looking at your heroes as individual characters with individual characteristics, then you're going to be doing yourself a disservice when you start getting into Doomsday and the season heroes, and as the heroes start progressively getting more detailed. So it's important that we understand how to read a hero, and we understand that what it says and what it means, and how we can have a general idea of where we should be placing them in our formations. And all of that comes from their information menu. Let's talk about our heroes. Let's pull one up and we can discuss it from there. So the first thing I want to talk about is you have two types of heroes. You have combat heroes and you have development heroes. Your combat heroes are the heroes that go into your APCs. They're the ones that do the actual fighting in battles. The other type of hero is a development hero. So the development hero, their goal is to be assigned to the management station that you will build, and they will bring your base some sort of benefit in a specific area. Some of them are geared towards your resources. Some of them will help you develop your technology faster. Some of them will help you build buildings faster. There's many different types of developmental heroes. Let's start on that so we can look at some of the different types of heroes and some of the terminologies that you may start to see as you start progressing in the game. Because things like cooldowns is important to understand and to know what it looks like, and you're going to start seeing it further on as heroes get more special skills, especially combat heroes. So for example, let's go to the Marketeer. So if we click on the Marketeer, you see he is a gold hero, a legendary hero. There are 4 different types of heroes. You have your common, rare, epic, and legendary. Those are your 4 different types. In the legendary, you do have a few different types of legendary heroes. You have season heroes, you have SP heroes. But if we look here at the Marketeer, you're going to see that he has 6 different skills. Each one of them pertains to a different aspect. The first one is going to be his experience. If you upgrade this, it will increase his experience based on the current cash production. A max level is going to be 200%. So basically, you're going to take what you normally make, you're going to multiply that by 200%, and that is going to give you how much experience that he is going to get at one time when you use this skill. The next skill is going to be a developmental skill. This is going to increase your cash auto production. So that means whatever you make normally, this is going to add on top of it. So if you make $10,000 an hour and you max this out and it says it's going to increase your production by 10,000, now you're going to be making 20,000. That is how you read that skill. There's another one here. It's a developmental skill, financial theory. It says unlock rapid production. You get 10% success rate plus 300% outcome. When you do your rapid production, it never goes to full 100. This one will state that your banks will gain the ability to do rapid production and it will add a 10% success rate at any point. This will give you 300% of what you normally make. So take the number that you currently have, multiply that by 300%. When you activate this skill, that is what you're going to get. The next one is going to be Pursuit of Perfection. Increase effect of bank improvement by 300%. Bank improvement was the second skill. So you're going to be adding 300% to this number. This is adding 300% to the first or the second skill of his. The next one is going to be a Touch of Midas. This is a one-time basic rapid production of massive amount. It basically gives you another rapid production that is more than the normal rapid production. This also, if you note, at the end of it says 22-hour cooldown. CD means cooldown, by the way. And the last one is going to be an emergency acceleration. This says it lasts for 2 hours and you have an 8-hour cooldown. So every 8 hours, you can increase your bank production for 2 hours by 300%. That's why it's kind of important to understand. I mean, most of that is pretty self-explanatory. I don't think any of you would really not understand what those mean. They're pretty straightforward. They're pretty self-explanatory. You can see that each skill has a little bit of a different terminology and affects banks in a different way. So to read your developmental heroes, you're going to see a lot of different skills that the terminology is going to be more detailed. It's going to be geared towards a specific area. And that's pretty much it. That's developmental heroes in a nutshell. Now, the only reason I bring up developmental heroes is because the skills and learning how to read skills, it would be good to start going through them. You will start seeing some repetitiveness in some of the specific resource types. You will notice that some don't have as many skills as others, but that's generally because of the rarity. But the fact that each skill specifically states something different is kind of why I bring it up and I want you to get accustomed to. Because once we get into the combat heroes, you're going to notice that heroes are going to have more specific details pertaining to a battle in when things get activated, what they do, what they're activating, how they affect other troops, so on and so forth. So it's important that you understand that aspect. Now, as we talk about combat heroes, because that's where we're going to be going now, your initial heroes that you're going to see if you're new to the game is going to be your basic legendary heroes. You're not going to see basic in front of them, but they're referred to as basic legendary heroes because you will start seeing season heroes and special heroes. And it's just easier to label them as basic because those are the ones that mostly everyone gets or has access to in the beginning of the game, and that doesn't change. Looking at a combat hero, you will notice that all combat heroes are pretty much laid out the same. The difference between a common, rare, and epic combat hero is the amount of skills that they have. Now, epic heroes will have the 6th skill called Awaken, but the common and the rare heroes will not. And that is important to note because sometimes you may need to use a basic combat hero or a common combat hero in the beginning because you don't have enough legendary heroes. And there is nothing wrong with it. The main focus that most people talk about is the legendary heroes, so we will focus more on the legendary hero, but realize that all of these aspects apply to every rarity of hero. It does not necessarily have to stay only to legendary. The rules still apply to all other ones, but reading skills, understanding what they say is the most important thing, and understanding how the layout of skills go for a hero is very important as well. So if we take our basic legendary hero I'm just pulling up Destroyer for right now, you notice that legendary combat heroes have 8 skills. All legendary combat heroes have 8 skills. Epic will have 6, rare will have 5, I believe, or 4, and then common will have 2 or 3. Now, if we're looking at our legendary hero, we have 8 skills. Now, they're all going to be laid out the same. Your 2nd skill, your 5th skill, and your 8th skill are all combat skills for any hero. That will never change. These are the skills that will actually be affecting the opponent's troops as far as doing damage. The first skill is going to be your dictator skill, and basically what this is it's going to affect how many troops that this hero can lead. That is all this is. The first skill is always how many troops this hero can lead. It's the basis for increasing the army size for that hero. After that, you start getting into a lot more detail. Your combat skills are going to be the most detailed aspects of any hero, so I want to save that for the end. Okay, so bear with me here. I'm gonna skip the combat skills for now, and I want to talk about the ones that we can easily talk about and explain. The third skill for every legendary hero is going to increase resistance for that squad. The 3rd and 4th skill are going to target the hero's squad. That means the troops that hero directly leads. Does not include any other troops in the APC. There's 3 rows in your APC, 1 hero for 1 row. Whatever troops are in that row, that is considered the hero squad. The entire APC is called a formation, and it is important to know the difference between the two. And sometimes people forget, and that's fine. But the 3rd and 4th skill are going to be geared towards the hero squad. So the 3rd one is going to increase the hero squad resistance, which is their defense, as we talked about in the last video. And the 4th skill is going to be the offensive formation. It's going to affect that squad's might, making their attack stronger, as we talked about in the troop video. And then if we move on, you're going to see the 5th skill is another combat skill, which we will come back to. The 6th skill for every legendary hero is called Awaken. Now, some of them look a little different than others. However, the general idea here is that it increases the amount of troops that the hero can lead, with the last statement of a percent increase bonus to the dictator skill. So that's the 1st skill. So whatever number you have in the 1st skill, you're going to increase it by the percentage in the 6th skill to give you a total amount of troops that hero can lead. Now, each awakened skill is going to say something a little different maybe in the beginning. For Destroyer, it says the hero squad has an additional 10% to might and resistance. So that means you're adding another 10% to the 3rd and 4th skill that you unlock. And it's also going to increase their hit points by 7%. Now, not every legendary hero is going to say the same thing. Some may say something different. So it's important that you do look at that and understand it to see what exactly it's being affected. Because when you make your formation, you want to make sure that you are not making your entire APC too one-sided. We have 3 aspects that can affect the APC. You have might, resistance, and hit points. If you have all of the bonuses geared towards might, they're going to have a very strong attack, but they're going to have a very weak defense. So that means if they don't win within the first round, chances are they're going to take a major hit right away. It's important to understand that you have a nice balance with your heroes' buffs and reading what they actually say. As you progress in the game, this is going to change, and you want to look at it. The 7th skill is another universal skill that is the same to everyone. However, the verbiage is always different based on the hero. Destroyer's 7th skill is another dictatorship skill, but the 7th skill will affect your hero formation. That means it affects the entire APC. Destroyers will affect the entire APC's hit points. Some heroes will affect only the resistance, some heroes will only affect the might, and some will do both resistance and might. The point I'm trying to get at here is you want to try and have a nice balance, or at least understand what you are doing when you go to formate your APC and choosing what heroes go in it. You don't want to have all your heroes geared towards only one thing and leave another aspect completely lowered. Now, Combat skills. So here's the deal. All legendary heroes will have 3 combat skills. The 3 combat skills are going to be your 2nd, 5th, and 8th skill. Generally speaking, the further along you get, the more powerful the skill is. Now, every hero will have a different aspect to it. Some will affect one enemy, some will give a status, some will add protection. So it's important that you do start to read these skills and understand what they do. How do I read this? At the top of the skill, it says type. Basically a combat skill. We've gone over that. There's 2 types of skills. There's combat skill and there is dictator skill. That's it. One will affect the overall statistics of the troops. Combat skills will actually do the damage. The thing below that is important to know though. It's called effective range. You might be asking yourself, I don't really understand what that number means. Effective range is how far that troop can reach. For Destroyer, in this circumstance, it says effective range is 2. That means it cannot reach more than 2 rows in front of it. He is not a long range killer. So what this means is if you look at a battle, you will have 6 rows. We have 3 rows of troops in our APC, and your enemy will have 3 rows of troops in their APC. Doesn't matter if it's another base. It doesn't matter if you're attacking a zombie. It doesn't matter if you're doing a tile. It doesn't matter what you're attacking. This always happens whenever you attack something. There is a 6-row battle. That is where your numbers come from. Wherever that hero is, the effective range will be the number of rows in front of it. So let's say Destroyer is in your back row. His effective range for the 2nd skill is 2. That means he could only hit your own front row. He cannot even touch the enemy with this skill. So what that means to you is he should not be in the back row. He needs to be in the front row or at worst in the middle. If he's in the middle row, the range is 2. That means he can only hit your enemy's first row. He will not hit any enemies behind them. That is how you understand what the effective range is. There is a lot of detail that goes into a battle that I do not want to discuss for this video. But right now I want to focus on heroes. The effective range is the important thing to understand because that will guide you as to where you should place your heroes. If we go to the next combat skill, it's generally a little more powerful, but if you look at it, it says the effective range now for this skill is 3. That means if he is in your middle row, he will affect the first 2 rows of your enemy squad. Now that we kind of understand what effective range is. Now, effective range can go from 2 to 5. I don't think I've seen a 6, but technically you could go 6. 5 is generally the max because if the hero is in your back row, there's only 5 rows in front of it. So that means the enemy's back row is the furthest that you're going to be able to hit. And that's going to be your more long range heroes, your ranged heroes, shooters, things of that sort of nature. That information can also be found at the top of the hero screen underneath the hero's name. You will have 3 little drop downs. One's mercenaries, one's melee, and one is general attributes. Basically, the first one is lore story. Mercenaries is basically the faction that this hero came from. The next one, the middle one, is where you should place your hero. It's a general guideline of where you should place your hero. This one says melee. It says he excels at close range combat, suitable for leading front or mid-row squads, which we have backed up with the 2nd and 3rd skills effective range. The last thing is generally going to be what troop type this hero should lead. General attributes just means that he's good with any troop type. Some will be geared towards archers or shooters, I should say. Some will be geared towards fighters. Some will be geared towards only vehicles. And it's important that you match the proper troop with the hero, as I think I've said in numerous other videos. But if they are a general attribute, which almost every basic legendary hero is, you can match them with any troop type. But moving on, below the effective range, it will tell you who it focuses on. If we go back, the 2nd skill says the target is 1 random enemy squad within the effective range. That's who that skill will affect. If we go to the next combat skill, it says 1 random enemy squad within the effective range. Destroyer is one of the most basic ones, I would say, because he basically just attacks 1 squad, one time and does a random amount of damage that you are given in this skill. So if we look at the second skill again, 40% chance to deal 525% to a single enemy squad. If you look at the next one, it says you have 1 turn of prep. That means you cannot do this on your first turn. You will probably do it on your second, fourth, sixth, and eighth round of battle. And you will have a 60% chance to do 646% damage to an enemy squad within range. So you are increasing the percentage and you're increasing the damage of the second skill. The last one is a fire at will. The effective range is 2, so this is why you want him in your front row most likely. The target is 1 random enemy squad. The requirement is when hero is leading any units. 30% chance to deal 441% damage to 1 enemy squad within range and suppress them. Suppress is a more advanced status of silenced. These are statuses. Suppress means that they cannot cast combat skills or do a basic attack, which it states in the next section, unable to take actions for 1 turn. So this will prevent them for attacking for 1 entire round. This is a very strong aspect to this hero, but as you can see, as you progress, these skills get a little bit stronger and they start to get a little more detailed. And that's where this is important to read and understand what it does. Destroyer would be a good match with someone who can take advantage of that. Later on, there are heroes that will add extra statuses or debuffs or do extra damage if they are under a specific status. And looking for heroes that may complement this hero would be a good matchup for the APC. And that's basically the general gist of this. I'm not going to go through every hero in this list. As you progress further in the game and you get access to new heroes, you will see a requirement and it will tell you exactly what you should be doing with this hero. It says when hero is leading shooters. If this hero is not leading shooters, this will not be useful. This will not activate. This will not do anything. So you will need to match this hero with shooters as it says in the skill. As I said, this game progressively introduces you to new aspects slowly so that you are accustomed to the way things work. Now, most people don't look at these things in this sort of fashion, and it's important that you start to do it early. The earlier you start to look at these things and read in this sort of fashion, the easier it's going to be later on when you start getting the heroes that are more specific and more detailed in their skills. That way you're not overwhelmed by all the information and changes. The point of this video is to get you to start reading things and understanding what they're saying. So instead of just randomly upgrading heroes and maxing them out, you want to use your resources wisely to specifically target certain heroes so that you can start making those stronger formations early. And the earlier you can do this, the better off you're going to be in the long run. That would be also my suggestion as far as for upgrading heroes. When we go to start upgrading heroes, you're probably going to have 4 or 5 different legendary heroes right off the bat. And your instinct is going to want to max all of them and have it balanced. Do not balance out your hero's experience and skills. Focus on 1 or 2 heroes at a time. Do not do 4 or 5 at the same time. You want to have at least 1 APC that is very strong instead of 4 APCs that are mediocre. Remember, guys, like the video if you like the video, subscribe for more content, leave a comment if there's something specific you want to talk about or something you want to see, or if you enjoy the videos. There is a lot that goes into APC formations and making sure that you're able to hold up, and I want to do it in the smoothest fashion possible. And that is it. Enjoy your week, enjoy your weekend, whatever day of the week you're watching this. I hope you have a good day. Make sure to tune in next time. Check out for streams, subscribe to see when I'm going to do a stream. I'll be doing giveaways during that time as well. And until next time, help each other, look out for each other, and be safe out there.